everybody, welcome to 2019, right? Happy New Year to you all. It has been quite a while since I posted. As usual, that's still the theme, unfortunately, but you know what? This is our year. This is going to be our year in 2019. There is going to be so much more coming, and this is the first video of the year. And so I want to start it off by being clear and concise and effective for you guys in understanding this disorder. And I really think that these visualizations are going to help so much, because for a long time I've been wanting to get something written down, created out of just for my words out of my head and onto a visualization, onto a piece of paper or something for you guys to see. So that's what I'm going to be going over in this video. I have about 7 different diagrams I made on a whiteboard that aren't professional, super crazy, good, but they're true, they're clear, they're concise, and I think they are really going to help you guys to understand better the concepts that I've been saying for so long in my multiple different videos and stuff. So it's definitely not the most greatest production I've done, but I really think this is going to be very helpful. And so I hope you guys take something from this, a better understanding, and there is just so much hope and faith and goodness and love in the air in 2019. It's going to be a magical year, a wonderfully blessed year of growth and of lightness and just a fresh start. And it's never too late to have that. Even if it doesn't happen until spring for you, that's still 2019. It's still all good. It's never too late. And so the next major video I'm going to be posting is that spirituality video explaining my faith in God and how it ties into this disorder and all mental health and all of life's problems in general. So I want to do a really good job on that video and take my time on it. So it's going to be a little bit, but it's coming. And I also want to fulfill that live sessions on this channel to go live and actually do that and come through. And I promise you guys that I will. And so that is to come, and I think it's going to be really engaging and thought-provoking and full of learning and growing. So that is exactly what I hope for that. So just take this video and take your time on it. Take your time to look through everything. Go slow, rewatch it, ask questions. I will help you guys understand something, and if you think something's not right, just let me know. But I'm very confident in this, so I hope that it helps you. I know it will. So remember, 2019 is our year. It's going to be the year of breakthrough and true growth in all of our realms of life. So yeah, let's get on with it. Also, I know, forgive me, I have no idea what's going on with this studio right now. I do, but it's in the works. It's a little raggedy right now. It's I just realized that what I bought, the backdrop, is not big enough at all for my recording space, and I just have all this junk down here that I need to get rid of, and so I'm trying to cover it up the best I can, so just bear with me. I know it doesn't look that great, but what's important is the content that we're talking about and what the message is. So this will improve eventually. All right, so let's dive right on into the information here. So I think this is really going to be very helpful. This is something that I really can see that has been needed for quite a long time, and this could be out there somewhere else, but I feel like making my own was a good idea. So just bear with me on the marker board and the expo. Beautiful art. Yep, I'm just such a great illustrator, as you can see, but I tried to make it clear. The marker was running out towards the end, but I had to use nail polish remover on here to get rid of all of the other stuff I had from 3 years ago, because I literally have not used this thing since then. So anyways, yeah, so just bear with me if you can't read something. I will try to speak it out what it says the best I can. And if I do a little click with the button just like that, apparently the recording likes to stop the audio. But anyways, so I try not to do that. So here we have visual representation of pure OCD. I wanted to start from scratch, so start from the very beginning, so where we are before all of this.
At the first stage, all good. Nothing ever happened. And so this is typically where we are at before we notice the first symptoms, the first onset of this disorder. And so how does that happen? I try to make it pretty basic explaining this here in the tier 2. So it could be the trigger. So how trigger occurs. So solely internal. It could be just a thought we had. It could be just something that happened within us all solely. So whether that is an anxiety attack we had one night that really irked us, or a thought that we normally don't think, or a sensation, or whatever it could be. And this also does apply, all of what you see does apply with somatic OCD as well. Slightly different, and I haven't made diagrams on that yet, but a lot of this can be applied to somatic. But for now, we're going to stick with pure OCD. So it could be solely external, the second option here. It could be something that happened, that you saw happen, that someone did, that could trigger this disorder. Or 3, it could be internal and external. So it could be just in our mind, or it could be in our mind and something that we saw. It could be, we could have had something happen that we saw, and then something happened in our mind that just was unusual, whatever. So it could be, really none of this matters, because none of what the disorder is trying to cause us to worry about matters, but it does matter to understand this and to see this happening. Number 3, we move on, like the next couple of days. I totally remember having these 3 steps happen to me, and just rumination begins. Thought doesn't leave us. We sit there and grapple with it, and it's just, we're like really, starting to recognize, okay, this is strange. Like, why isn't this leaving? Why am I thinking this thought, and when I don't really care about it, I don't want to care about it, but I do. So why? We become fearful somehow. We're unsure on our symptoms, lack of understanding. This is huge. We just don't know. So we ruminate. It's natural. That is our human nature to respond in this way. Then we begin to hair-splitting attempts to rationalize the thoughts or event. It's just not possible. But we will try our best to, because this is what we think is going to help us. If we try to give all of our energy and attention to these thoughts, and just to try to get ourselves to calm down somehow and make perfect sense of them and be like, oh, okay, like that's what we think is going to work. It just doesn't, though, because it's not. There is nothing that is rational or relevant about these thoughts to us, except that we don't want them to happen. So forcing thought away. This is another huge thing. So this is really the end. I feel like this is kind of where I was left with in this stage. And that is what led me to step 4, in the stage 4, whatever you want to call it, snowball effect. This is when we really, we realize we have a problem, or we realize that this is okay, this is really not going away now, and we snowball into an anxiety attack, perpetuating thoughts by rituals and adhering fear. This happens because of all this. So basically, the rituals are the rationalizing, the forcing, the thinking into the thoughts. So that is how we perpetuate and adhere fear, because we're not accepting or facing thoughts, we're trying to get rid of them in fear. So negative inner dialogue intensifies irrationality. I used to be this way a lot. I was very, very naturally negative, like intrinsically negative. And that's a dangerous thing to be, because that will hinder your recovery process in this tremendously. The number one thing that helped me in overcoming this OCD was just a simple switch from being negative to positive. It was literally like as thin as this line to do that. No, it wasn't like super profound at first, but it really, over time, it is profound. Intensity of anxiety skyrockets. Oh, and new worries arise. So because we're negative, because of this happens. New worries arise, and our anxiety skyrockets. It's just a terrible place to be. This is just not, it's not necessary. You shouldn't have to go through this, but it happens, and that's why you're here. And I know that this is not where you will stay, and I truly, truly believe with learning and love and hope and faith, this is just so unnecessary. So now we'll move on to the next one. All right, so we're on tier or step 5 of the snowballing of the process of getting, into the thick of pure OCD. So we're at the point now where most of us are continuing obsessions, feeling trapped, hopeless, desperate, and afraid. Unfortunately, that is what comes with this disorder. But it's not your permanent location. It is not the truth. So why are we at this point? Why? Everything seems to make it worse. It's very difficult to, it's just so difficult to find something that seems to make this better because it's so persistent and so nasty that it just strips us of our hope. It really does. But not forever. Nothing seems to work or let my mind go. Complete misunderstanding. It is. Cynical mindset, negative energy, catastrophic thinking. No, no, no. But this is where we are led to. It's so easy to fall into this hole. And this is it. And now, what are we left with? Time. Time to sit there and deal with all this forever? No. And not understand and to not get better, because if we don't try and if we don't uplift ourselves and if we don't change into our mind and begin to get to this rewiring point and this transformation into the truth of this, unfortunately, it could get worse, it could get better, or it could stay the same. So it either does one of the three. And no matter what, if it gets better, if it gets worse, or if it stays the same, changing obsessions occur. My phone's ringing, so just don't mind that. So now we are literally at this point where it doesn't matter what we do. These three things occur, and the obsessions always seem to come back, or they always seem to still hang on, because if we don't perform the true way of overcoming this, we will still be at these points, even if we have a great day. So now we're at the dead end. We're at a dead end. We think we're stuck with this and that we're going to have to live with this forever. These thoughts are our own. Somehow we mean them, and we just have to sit there and figure out what the truth is, all completely on our own. It's a dead end. It's an illusion. It's just not true. This is not where you will stay. I will not let that. The power invested in me from God, I believe there is hope for each and every one of you. I know it. And so I'm going to show you how to get there. Okay, so moving on to the third slide or diagram. So what you're looking at here is my visualization of this pure OCD falsehood umbrella that we live under. Down here, we live under this drapery, this veil, this falsehood, the lies blinding us from the truth towards this disorder. And we end up thinking things that are these lies and catastrophic ways and mindsets of thinking, and the rituals that we end up performing. So basically, this happens because of this, and this happens because of this drapery, this umbrella of falsehood. So I've definitely felt this very, very clearly when I was going through it, and I knew that something was wrong and that I was down here in this mix, and it feels so like this is the only reality. It seems impossible to move from here to somehow get boom up here and skyrocket right out of this. And so that is why I'm here. That's why my goal is to uplift everybody out of this, because it's so unnecessary to be down here. And so what exactly happens when we feel this way, when we're succumbed and just being overcame by this disorder, which is not going to be the case forever. Not at all. We will not stay here. So, but in the meantime, we end up dealing with these lies, this catastrophic thinking. I've heard a lot of people say these things. I've heard a lot, and including myself at one time, I really thought these things were true, but they aren't. They consist of somehow thinking I'm a special case. These thoughts and ideologies have relevancy to me. There must be evil in me. There is a dark side to me. I'm getting schizophrenia or something worse. There is truth somehow to these images. Bullshit. It's not true. It's just so easy to think this way and to dwindle down. And we've got a boom. Nope, we're dwindling up. I guess it is. We're ascending out of this. So basically, because of this, we end up moving on over to here, and we end up unwittingly performing rituals that are reinforcing the whole disorder. And it's so easy to think, though, that this is right, this is what we need to do, somehow this is going to work for us, but it's not. We must stop these things, and this consists of, such as like performing a habit, such as counterthinking or an unnatural distraction. This is huge, this is major, because it's so easy to think we're doing something right by distracting ourselves in an unnatural way, not how we would before this all started, but in a forced way that just is not the same. It doesn't have the same effect. It's actually a ritual. So, and counter-thinking. So, thinking against one of these thoughts or whatever subject or content or, subject that your disorder has. So it's so easy to think that counterthinking will somehow make relevancy, will somehow fix these. It's not going to. It is again a ritual, and we are unwittingly reinforcing when we counterthink. So unnecessary. Any attempt to run / flee from the thoughts, it's themselves, avoidance. This is huge. And same with, all of this is huge. It's because it's so easy to lose sight of when we are attempting to flee or when we are confiding. And that's what I say down here, engaging or trying to analyze, justify, or confide in any way with the obsession. This is huge. It really is. And it's so easy to not realize that we are performing these two. That is reinforcing the disorder, because it's easy to lose track of this. It's easy to be like, okay, I don't think I'm performing any of these rituals. I'm not confiding with the thoughts, but it's very, very simple to fall into that and to begin to somehow think that there is relevancy to anything that this pure OCD is throwing at us. It's not. We have to watch this very carefully. Yes, it's okay. It's not a big deal once in a while to fall back into that, but consistently every day confiding with the obsession is not going to help you, and it's going to make it worse. And so it's not a reason to be like worried like crazy if you do confide, because like I said, it's very simple. The lines of this get blurred. But if we move to this higher level and think about things a little bit differently and realize the essence of fathoming these thoughts and how that can cause us to somehow think that they're completely ours and that we have to think into them, that's confiding. And so we have to really be light and we have to really like uplift ourselves out and somehow recognize immediately that we're confiding. And it's different for everybody. And that's why I say somehow, because you will find that, you will feel that in you, you will recognize it eventually, and every day you'll be growing towards it. But not without understanding, not without the knowledge to even do that. So in the last here I wrote is allowing yourself to ruminate into the realms of the subject of the obsession. So thinking into the pure OCD thought or the content or subject in general. So like, let's say you have an intrusive thought or an obsession or whatever about your, something happening to your mom or your dad. And so worrying about how that could happen is thinking into the realm of the obsession. So anything, like whether it could be literally anything that has to do with it. We have to prevent ourselves from and try our best to just not do that. And it's there. We have every possibility, we have every skill and right and ability to do that. We just have to be mindful of when we are and allow ourselves to let it go, because it seems like it's impossible, but it's not. It is not impossible to detach from rumination and at least experience a drop in the urge to ruminate towards it. So we have to realize these things. And when we do, we find ourselves being uplifted, and we're not so deep into this. It's not so under or on top of us. We're on top of it instead. It's not on top of our shoulders anymore. It's under our feet. So I know that if I could be boom all the way down here, not feeling good at all, like I'm just SOL, I have no idea what's going on and everything is horrible, and if I can skyrocket right out of that and into this beautiful truth and into life and into mental wellness and wholeness, I know you guys can too. Because no matter how far gone you feel down here, this umbrella does not stand forever. And I can help you guys get out of it by the power invested in me from God, and by God's grace and will, I will. And so I really feel that huge. So when we finally do reach this point, and when we stop doing these things, and when we gain confidence, we finally will feel that the full detachment and irrelevancy, goodness, freedom, the power of our heart. I don't know what that is, but clarity, unity, faith, and hope are the bullet points here, and how we're going to feel and what we need to be maintaining. And in truth, love, wholeness, and lightness. So I wrote these because this is really how I feel right now. And I know you guys can. Absolutely. Every one of you is this and is worthy of this. And I deserves to feel this in your brain and in your whole body. And to truly feel fully confident, have no doubt. And that we have good will. So I just want to point out here how this is tricky. It's very easy to grapple with doubt. I did for so long, even after being fully recovered. And it's normal to have doubt. It is, because the reason for doubt itself is because of boom, over here, this lies and catastrophic thinking. These are connected. So we have to recognize that any time that we doubt, we should automatically recognize that it's boom, a lie. Catastrophic thinking. It's always, no matter what, there's no case that our doubt, that we lose this confidence. So if we become unconfident and doubtful, we have to immediately recognize that we have gone back under the umbrella, and that we are thinking in a catastrophic way. Not true. Don't let yourself get tricked. It's trickery, I'm telling you. And the more passionate and driven and persistent we are, the less doubt, the less likely we are to have a day under this umbrella at all. So, and we'll finally be in a consistent state of mental space, is one, enjoyable, with full understanding of all this. And I absolutely know you all will get here. Okay, so we are moving on now to the fourth diagram here. So now, as you can see, this looks similar to the other one that I just went over, but now it's a dotted or weakened umbrella here. So the falsehood umbrella is weakening. It is eroding away. It really does not feel as severe anymore. It's still plaguing us. It still tricks us sometimes, but it's not as bad. And so I'm kind of representing this visually, how to do that, like how that kind of happens. So this is kind of, this is my beautiful stick figure on where we are most of the time in this, is like not very happy, sometimes doing really bad, sometimes doing good, mostly just in a state of limbo. So with effort, belief, hope, and faith, along with guidance, community, and trust, and now if we can channel those two things with time, resiliency, and persistency, we can achieve these two major changes, these two huge steps, and that's cognitive behavior changes. So that is basically ERP, but a more specific set here. So it goes beyond ERP, it really does. ERP is a great way to structurally explain this kind of. So, but this still goes even beyond that. So overall, this is what I have found I've done within my own mind, within my own soul and body, and how I keep everything under wraps and just truly feel whole all the time. And yes, sometimes my symptoms come back, but it's like not really, not very, very, very weakly. So anyways, so right now we've got so under cognitive behavioral changes, the right pillar here. So the complete disengagement from rituals and responses. This can be tricky. So it's very easy to think that you're completely disengaging, but then you'll have like a little thought that does carry on with it, and we don't know that we're doing that. We don't always think that we are, but it can be very subtle, so we've got to be mindful about that. No engagement such rumination at all. Accepting and neutrally observing the thoughts. This is huge. So allowing them to come in and not choosing to be upset about them is a hugely and tremendously powerful skill to learn. And it seems impossible. It's easy to think that whatever comes in up here, we have to react in a positive way or in a bad way, or in a varying degree of that. But no, we do not. We do not have to. We do not have to react. We do not have to, even though we might be urged to, even though we might automatically. Eventually, that will diminish, and we will be able to neutrally observe the thoughts, whether they're bad or good. And this is huge. And so, my best way of explaining how to be able to do this is practice facing an intrusive thought, letting it come in full, and just staring at it and just letting it be there, as awkward and as weird and as hard to do that as it is. And as many times as you trip and fall and it might not work, and you might end up like totally performing a ritual to make yourself feel better or something, and you think that works, and blah, 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 and the cycle continues. That's okay. It's no matter how many times, I'm telling you, no matter how many times, we will eventually finally have that point where it just doesn't impact us as much anymore, and we're able to observe it and let it go. Okay, so this one, fully engaged with an external life. This is another major necessary behavior. We have to, so obviously this can go beyond cognitive behavior, but this statement is mostly explaining cognitively and so overall across our whole bodies, not just within our own mind, but a lot of what we do starts within our mind, clearly. So we have to be willing internally to fully engage with external life and push through that awkward stage, that anxiety, or that even if it is crippling. And I know that sounds dire, and I pray that nobody is experiencing a crippling symptom or depression or anything. But if we simply say yes to life again, and if we simply, as painful as it might be at first, to get back into life and to keep going with things, this will truly help you break away from all of the bull that this disorder, all of the lies and the unnecessary worries and whatever it may be, obsessions. It will help you to break away, not only to be distracted from them, but to truly feel disconnected from them, and that you'll finally start to really catch on. They have no relevancy to you. So natural distraction right here. This is major, not unnatural distraction like I explained a couple slides ago. It has to be the way we're used to doing things before this ever happened, like going to see your friend, going to a dinner and having fun, and just doing something that you've always liked to do, or going for a cruise by yourself, like going down a beautiful road or a beautiful highway or something, going somewhere that you love, connecting with nature. Or it could just be running errands, and just doing things that you might not have been doing for a while, because it's so easy to be like cooped up at home and just to be afraid of things and not want to have triggers and whatnot. But it's like, we have got to face them. There's no other way to put it. But that eventually this must occur. And so you will find huge joy, major relief, and liberation out of naturally operating back into life. So these tie together. So, and fully facing fears. So all of this ties together. So the more we just go right at it and dive head first back into our life, even if it doesn't feel the same, even if it doesn't feel like it used to, it doesn't need to be perfect to do this. That's the thing. We could be in the midst of this whole disorder, and we can still ever yet choose these things. The power of choice is unbelievably powerful. And a truthful mindset. This is major. So to do these things, we need to have this. So thoughts have no relevancy to you. And I say this again because it's so easy to continue on thinking that there is something, some tiny grain of it that is yours, and it's not. The thoughts are ego-dystonic, and so I'm going to have in the next slide where I'm going to show you guys what this looks like more. But truly being mindful and actively thinking out ego-dystonic. The thoughts are ego-dystonic, and connecting the dots there is a helpful thing to do. You are free, you are worthy, good, and beautiful. The obsession will end and you will heal. This is the mindset to carry on with and to run with. Take this and run with it. Seriously, I promise you that no matter how bad you feel, you will begin to feel better, and you will feel some goodness out of carrying this. So on this diagram number 5 or 4.5 or whatever you want to call this one, so this is kind of like an ending, or like this is a kind of a capstone to the other diagram I just made. So you might be thinking in this whole process right now that, you know what, I'm just not feeling this. This is not going to work for me. There's something that that doesn't feel right. Like I just still feel like I'm not going to get over this, but that's just not true. It's not true. That's another falsehood, another lie, and another manifestation of negativity in us. So you know what? No. This is kind of a slide to just explain how it's going to be. So this is to be expected, this kind of situation here. So it's, I put it right up here, not going to be a cakewalk, but not an unsolvable equation. And so right now I have this little guy here. So this is basically supposed to be, this stick figure is supposed to represent somebody who has applied this knowledge to them and who is just getting started, who is feeling good, who had a good couple, good period, and then, doing the ERP, whatever, and then it's to be expected, boom, that there's going to be a relapse at some point. And this happens to me sometimes. It really does, because our minds are erratic. Like, it can happen, and that's why this disorder is so difficult, because our minds are complicated and complex, and there's subconscious parts, there's conscious parts, there's just so much to it. Like, I can't even wrap my brain all around it. But what I can wrap my brain around is this, and I know you all can too. So, this guy here is just not having a good moment, clearly. So relapse is almost impossible to avoid with this OCD. Does not change regardless. It doesn't change the end results. So the only thing it can do is cause us to experience a roadblock or some sort of little adversity in the midst of it, to kind of, this is really a time where we really have to show our strength and to come back to this point and be like, hey, I know better than this now. I know better than this. I feel it in me. And I know that this thought is not going to rob me of my joy and my freedom and my passions and my progress in my life. So, but no matter how many times we may feel failure, go backwards, or stop trying, none of that eliminates our progress. Always pick yourself back up and carry on. I could not put more emphasis on this. And this is the only way, guys. It really is. And if you have a moment of weakness, that's fine. And anytime you are, just reach out to me or to your support system or whatever it is that you have. And I really heavily encourage you guys to have that always. And it could be just yourself, but if you really are that strong, and I truly believe that we are all that strong, be my guest. But it's so much easier when you have someone else, some sort of support system. So this is a point that we all are going to be coming to, and we have to pick ourselves back up to carry on and not let ourselves like fall back into that rut under that umbrella. And we're not gonna. It's not an option. We're moving on. So, and if it happens, guys, do not cause yourself to have an anxiety attack. Don't let it trick you. It's gonna be all right. You can anytime you can pick yourself back up. And remember what I said. It's not going to eliminate your progress. So face the obsession, man. Eliminate that fear. Passion, love, fellowship, belief, self-realization, and spirituality is how you pick yourself back up. I'm telling you that these points are majorly important. And so, yeah, this is kind of a simple one, showing, in a pretty simple visualization about how to get the heck back up. And it's going to happen. And I can touch more on this too later on about, just how to overcome a relapse from this. And so for now, I'll leave it here. Okay, so moving on to the second to last one I made here. And I think this one is really gold, man. I really love this one. And so it's basically pure OCD thought structure. So I wanted to actually, create what the thoughts really look like. And yeah, it's not typically a circle. I don't know how you even draw a thought. So it's a little diagram explaining, what the truth of how these thoughts really look like and what they really mean at the end of the day, when all of the lies and all the layers are stripped down, and when it's just at its basics, it's actually a really beautiful thing. So here we got this little guy here, and he thinks his OCD thought. So he has a symptom. He has this thought, and it's not an ordinary thought, as you can see. It's like a nucleus, right? It's like a cell. So I needed to draw this out for you guys and for me. I really wanted to get this out of my mind and on the whiteboard. So at this point, so this is where we're at, guys. This is where, hopefully not, but this is really, assuming, assuming that we are going through what we're going through right now. I'm guessing a lot of people are here. So it's like, oh no, we have the thought, and all you do without understanding and without ERP, boom, the fight or flight turns on. All you see is this shell, this dangerous, jagged, freaky thought that's just not yours. That's just, why is this here? Like, what is going on? It's just totally wigs you out, right? Because the shell, the way we view this thought on the surface is bad, death, scary, evil, violence, bad, ugly, things we would never do. And so that is what we see. That's all we see, guys, at first, at the start of this disorder, for sure. But look over here. So with the understanding and with learning and ERP, we see right through this enamel, this layer, and into the core of the thought. That is beautiful. That really, guys, really, this heart of the cell or of the thought is, I'm protecting you from this. Really, what this whole thought is ego-dystonic. So I guess I should have put up here ego-dystonic thought structure. So that is what really is, that's really what this is an ego-dystonic thought. So we don't see this for now, or, and we're eventually gonna. But at first, we don't really understand this. It's just a bad thought that we do not want, that we have to get rid of. It's just, there's nothing good about it. So, But once we really think deeply, and when we really understand what ego-dystonic means, and we really understand the way this disorder works, and how tricked and deceived we are into thinking that this is what it is, it's honestly will shock you to know that the inside is light. The inside is what you truly want, but in an opposite way. So it's just a protective thought. So with understanding an ERP, you see the truth beyond the shell. You see the core of the thought. And this is why it's so hard to understand, is because it's locked in here. Like it's just so easy to not see beyond this. And it's very, very difficult, though. It really is. It's even hard for me sometimes, but I always remind myself that I love my thoughts. And even so, when I have a bad thought, what I do is, as hard as it is for me, I say, oh, there it is again, that ego-dystonic thought, or, oh, there's that OCD thought. Yeah, it's not that easy to do that every time, and it's going to take a lot of practice and a lot of trials, but with resiliency and with time and persistency, you will be able to be like this guy and go like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't have to have fight or flight on. I can turn that off. The thought is able to go away. And our body, our survival primal instinct does not keep it there anymore, because it sees that it's literally, the thought is there to protect us from it. That's why we're worried about it. That's why we ruminate about it. That's why we obsess about these things, so they don't happen. But the problem is that clearly they aren't going to. They never were going to in the first place. But when we have this OCD, and when we're vulnerable, and when we fall into this cycle, we just don't know that. It just is like a disconnect. And so this is bridging that disconnect somewhat. And it really is incredibly powerful. So study this and think about how this can be you all the time. And that whenever we have a relapse or occurrence of this again, we automatically see right through into the light. And so at the end of the day, though, these thoughts really are there to protect you. And that they aren't your best friend. They definitely are not really right, I guess. They're not exactly healthy to have. They're not wanted or desirable, but they're there, and we have to accept them for now. And that they will go away, and that we have the power to rewire our brain. We truly do. And so for now, though, the more and more we study this type of concept and truly see past our own doubt about this truth, the more it's going to settle into us, and the deeper it's going to become our new reality. Basically, it's going to reverse engineer this OCD that we have into something that we can live with, and that does not bother us, and that we have control over, and does not control us, right? So really just take your time on this one. I really think that this is good, and I want to redo it sometime, because I know my artwork is kind of ugly. So okay, so moving on to the last diagram, number 7. And forgive me that the marker was running out by this point. I didn't have any other expo markers or anything. So anyways, this one is a visualization of ERP. It's not totally every part of ERP. It's not perfect, but I wanted to at least touch on this before we're done. So here's basically one of us and our ERP warriors. So, somebody who's going through OCD. So, boom, you start to have that intrusive thought, and that intrusive thought comes and immediately comes with the urge and says, worry about me, ruminate, fear. And that is more of our fight or flight response, right? That's our deep urge to worry. And everybody has this, no matter what, without OCD or with OCD. So the compulsion tempts you to think into the thought. It really does. This happens to me still. And it is easy to have a moment where you just forget about everything we just talked about, and still yet think in. And that might happen. Again, don't fret. Don't let it stop you. Don't be catastrophically thinking about that, because it's just not the case. So this occurs. So then when we know ERP and when we're successfully and effectively performing ERP consistently, boom, we stop and say, but wait. ERP warrior here says, but wait. I know what to do and I know what this thought is, here's how I'm going to respond to it. I'm going to eliminate response prevention. So I've gone over this ERP before, and like I said, this isn't a complete diagram, and I could have gone more in here, but like I said, I was kind of running out of ink. But so basically, when we allow the thought to come into our head, and we do not respond or perform any ritual, and we allow it to just be there. And there's so much more to that, and so if you want me to clarify a little bit more in the comments, just let me know. So when we have this ERP, and when we're successfully, truly instilled with how to do it, and with practice, that OCD thought is still going to come, but not with, not the same way, not anymore, not with our new skill set here. So we recognize as OCD immediately, like I said. So we give no energy or ritual response. Because of that, the thought comes in, but since we do not give it what it wants, we are eliminating that response. We're eliminating the rituals, and it really does prevent it from snowballing or from becoming any more than it is in us, because it's like it really is nothing, so it does not need to become anything more. Boom, that thought is neutral, no power, and it might still be the same, but it's neutralized and it's drained of all of its power, or most of it. The thought drastically weakens. It does not entertain our fight or flight response, and it goes away because we did not give it anything to work with. And boom, it goes into the trash of no use. We might still be aware of it. We might still know that it's there. It might still hang on for a while. But because of our true understanding way before all this and using ERP now, we have reached a habituation achieved. We're okay, even with the thought, even without it being a perfect recovery or result. That's the beauty of all this, is that it doesn't need to be perfection. Habituation can happen anyways, and that is still a reduction in anxiety, a reduced sense of unease, a reduced sense of fear, of panic, all gone. Maybe not 100%, but mostly reduced. And that is exactly the goal. And another beauty is that habituation will continue to increase in us, and it will continue to be the mainstay instead of fear. There's just so much to all of this, guys, and I know that this was a really kind of an overwhelming video with a lot of information I threw at you, but I really hope that this worked to help you to understand better what I've been saying over the past year, basically. There is so much more, and for now I want to leave it here. I know that these diagrams weren't like professional. I don't really have, I could have done them on the computer, I guess, and taken even longer to get it out, but I feel like I already take long enough, so I really want to get some good content out for you guys and help you guys out, and I'm always here. So let me know if you have any questions about all this. I'm not this mean looking. I guess all of these guys are not what I look like. They're all kind of creepy, but yeah, this one, I'll be happy to help you. So I'll happy to elaborate on any of these things or to clarify something that you're not understanding. Anyways, I wish you all super well. I wish you a peaceful and serene night of understanding and just balance and feeling whole and successfully, practicing this. I know you guys will and already are. It's going to be an incredible year. Anyways, have a wonderful night, guys.